What's up, sports fans, and welcome to the Sports Opinions Podcast. This is episode 11. I am your host, as always, Alex Cuesta. You can find me on Twitter at AQuestaNBN, and of course, go follow the Sports Opinions Twitter at SportsOpinion30. With me today is another special guest, as all my guests are pretty damn special. He is one of the co-founders of the Knicks tape movement, which blew the hell up a few years ago. One of my good buddies, Luke Teitelbaum. What up, Luke?
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels good.
You are special, Luke. You know you're special to me, buddy.
I appreciate that very much. Thanks for having me on this.
Absolutely. So, for those of you that don't know, Luke is one of the co-founders of Knicks Tape. Who did you find? Who are the buddies that you found Knicks Tape, the movement, with?
So my buddy Matt Miller, actually, I got to give him a shout out. He actually started it back in about 2011, 2012 when Iman Shumpert was on the team. He kind of coined the phrase Knicks Tape, and then we kind of ran with it. We're Knicks fans, we're some of the most passionate fans in the world. So when we kind of wanted to be part of that culture, we thought it was going to be a winning culture. It was for a little bit. We're as passionate as all Knicks fans, and it seems like even though the last 5 years haven't been as great, there's still so much passion from the fan base. So we want to be a part of it.
So Knicks Tape, it was a big movement that started on Twitter, and right now I think you're sitting at like near 19,000 followers on Twitter for the Knicks Tape.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right?
And where can people find you on that Twitter? What's your handle?
So it's at Knicks Tape, just Knicks and Tape, kind of like a play on mixtape. We have our blog, and we also started a podcast as well a couple weeks back. That's knickstapeny.com. You can find us there. Thank you for kind of inspiring me to do the podcast. I saw that you were doing it. So I was like, hey, maybe I'll give it a shot too.
Oh, yeah. Listen, if I could do it, anyone could do it.
No, I didn't mean it like that. But yeah, hopefully you'll be a guest for it one of these days soon when even though we don't play the Nets again, I'd love to have you on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But so, and also, if you look at the Knicks Tape Twitter, and probably even on the blog, they have some pretty damn cool looking shirts. Their logo is awesome. And I remember back in the day when it first started, and I saw it, Luke actually, I don't know if you remember, when you had the white t-shirts with just the cassette tape, it was blue and orange or whatever. I had one of those just because it was awesome. But the new shirts...
Yeah, I remember that, actually.
Yeah, the new shirts, like, I'm not a Knicks fan. Like, everyone knows I'm a Nets fan, but I had to support you. And the new shirts, they're long sleeve. They're so much more of a sleeker. The logo is the same, but it's so sleek looking. Everyone, you don't have to be a Knicks fan to sport this. It's just something that's real cool looking. So I recommend everyone go check that out.
Yeah, that's at knickstapeny.com as well. We tweaked the logo a little bit for those, but yeah, I agree too. It's a little bit sleeker. Definitely you can wear it whatever fan you are. Just as long as you're an NBA fan or a sports fan in general, I think it'll work.
So the question is, when you jumped in with your buddy Matt, and you guys really started to push this and promote this, did you think it was gonna blow up to what it is right now?
I had no idea. Actually, when I started, getting into it with my buddy, he had about 1,000 followers. I didn't even think it was him. I thought he was kind of, making it up. Then, he gave me the login, he showed me everything, and it was at a good part because they were probably the best. They've been in 20 years. Right when we started, they had that 53-win season.
Yeah.
There was passion behind them even more than now. Especially when the Knicks are good, the town is a Knicks town. I'm sorry to say that to all you Nets fans out there. But even I think it's probably the biggest sport in the city is basketball. So whenever the Knicks are good, there really is a big following behind it. We kind of just caught that wave.
And there's no debating that. Like, the beginning of this year when the Knicks were playing good ball and the Garden was bumping every night, and Porzingis was, being a literal MVP candidate for the first quarter of the year, the Garden was the place to go. It was, celebrities were back in there. Every fan wanted to go see it. I wanted to go see a game, but, I ended up not going. But, it was something that, even as a Nets fan, it's just cool to see that passion and that atmosphere back in the most historic arena on the friggin' planet.
Yeah, and that seems to happen every year, though, lately. They have these kind of hot starts, and then, they fizzle out a little bit, when December or January come. Usually when that Christmas Day game comes, they start fizzling out. But even now, I was watching the game yesterday. There's still passion there. There's still a lot of heart in the team, at least. I think they're rebuilding now, but, those fans will always come out. The building is always packed, to the detriment of them a little bit, because fans are going to come no matter how bad they are, but it's cool to see.
Absolutely. And just to wrap up the whole entire Knicks tape part of this with a bow, what do you guys want to see come out of this? Because obviously you guys are fans first. If you literally, make little to nothing off of this, you're definitely going to still do it because it's a passion. You're not going to stop being Knicks fans. But is this something that, you're going to want to maybe get a partnership with someone or do something and make this bigger, make this more legitimate?
Yeah, well, for now, we're starting the podcast. I think that's fun. We kind of want to keep pushing that. Start recording those every week. And really, we want to see the team do well. That's our thing. So once they're where they should be, we want to push it more. If there's partnerships available, yeah. I mean, Bleacher Report. There's all these new outlets now that we could partner with. So that's definitely something that we're interested in the future. But for now, we're just going to start with the podcast. Still have the shirts, still blog, and hopefully, the team starts to improve.
So yeah, anyone at Twitter, if you're listening, get these guys a damn check mark. What are you guys doing? Almost
Yeah, I know, right?
19,000 followers. Like 19,000 followers, players on the team were legitimately hashtag Knicks tape because of them during the 2011 run, the 53 win season. Like that was a legitimate thing. Twitter,
Yep.
what are you doing? Come on now, give my boy some love. What are you doing?
If anybody knows anyone at Twitter out there, please verify us. Thank you.
Hell yeah. And speaking of the Knicks, obviously that's your forte. That's where you really love to be. So we're going to talk a little bit of it. Obviously, the season got a damper when Kristaps Porzingis blew out his knee. And also, Tim Hardaway Jr. has been banged up all year. Um, where does that put you as a fan? And then also analyzing it, what are your hopes? Were they high when you still had them? And where have they come now?
Well, as I was saying before, every year they kind of start hot, and we get behind them, really think, they can make a playoff run, maybe get into the eighth to fifth seed realm. But now we're in total, tank mode, as you're going to call it. I think it's good. They seem to be making some good moves, getting some young players, low risk, high reward, bringing somebody like Moutier, Trey Burke. So I think what they're doing is smart, and it's something that we really have to sit through. They try to do those patches, those fixes like they did last year, bringing in Noah, D Rose, kind of people who are on the last leg of their career, but could still might have an impact, but it just never works. So I do kind of like the direction they're going. It seems like the Steve Mill regime is kind of trying to dismantle everything that Phil Jackson's done. As you can see them getting rid of someone like Hernan Gomez, who looked like he had a good upside. They really traded him for what they got him for. So it just seems like this is a total rebuild process now, and I think it's something that needed to be done for 10 years pretty much. Well, ever since kind of 2013, it was hard to do it when Melo was still on the team. Now he's off the team. Good luck to him in Oklahoma City, but now's the time to really start the rebuild, really build this almost like the Nets are doing. I think the Nets are doing a very good job, in my opinion. I'm trying to get better, trying to bring in these young players, and I think that's what the Knicks are starting to do a little bit. It's harder for them. Again, the passionate fan base, people always want them to win. And the owner is a little bit difficult too. So stuff could sway him pretty easily. But I really think they need to kind of, buckle down and just get into this rebuild. Or what they could do is try to get LeBron, which I think it's kind of impossible, especially with KP being hurt. But that would definitely change the whole tenor of the franchise.
And I'll touch on LeBron in a second, but just talking about everything that you just said, it kind of sucks because even for, I'm just a basketball fan, and obviously I want to see a New York sports team do well, even if it's not my Nets. I get behind the Knicks. I jab all my Knicks fan friends, including you, if anything goes wrong. But in the end, I'm okay if the Knicks do well. I root for them. But like this year, there was like such a nice setup. Like KP was ready to take over, Melo was gone. They brought in Tim Hardaway Jr., who everyone felt could be a legitimate second option. They have great role players in Cantor, Courtney Lee, O'Quinn, Beasley. Like it looked set up to be a real team with some real depth. And then it just slowly but surely started to crumble. And now we're where we are now. And you mentioned the Moutier deal. They just traded for Moutier at the deadline, a 3-team trade. Doug McDermott, who I know was quickly a fan favorite, he got traded to Dallas. They swapped second round picks, I think, with Dallas to get Moutier. They have a very crowded point guard situation. Out of who do you believe the most? Do you think Frank can be the guy? Because now you have literally two guys who don't take jumpers, basically, with Frank Ntilikina and Moutier. And then you also brought in Trey Burke, who's another slasher and doesn't shoot the ball particularly well. So who is your real option out of those three?
it's interesting what they're doing there. I think the point guard position in the NBA, it's kind of like the quarterback in the NFL. So it's the most important position on the floor, especially when you have somebody like KP there who needs to get the ball. I think what they're doing now, especially since he got hurt, is really just trying to see which one sticks, throwing them against the wall, putting them out there to play, and seeing which one can have some chemistry with this team. I like it, especially now that they're in tank mode. You know, Ntilikina is very raw. Good on defense. I wish they would have got Dennis Smith Jr. He's looking like the Rookie of the Year candidate. So I think that was a real big mess up in Phil Jackson's short career here.
Now, but you also got to credit Phil. He did bring in Porzingis, so
Yes.
he brought in the biggest piece that I think the Knicks have had since Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, that's true. And he didn't trade any draft picks either, which I think was very smart. He was a little bit stubborn, though. It seemed, he wanted to bring in these European players, which isn't an issue. But it seemed like he was a little bit, hesitant about any kind of college player that he wanted to bring in, which was an issue for me. I think Dennis Smith Jr. would have been better, but, Ntilikina's 19, has a lot of upside, very raw. Defense is what they need. I think their biggest problem now is a lack of defense. I still don't understand why Kurt Rambis is still on the team and considered a defensive specialist when they have one of the worst defenses in the league. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, on that side of the ball, I think there is a lot of promise there. Again, a lot of those are low risk, high reward deals that they did, especially at this point in the season where they're just trying to see who could really have some chemistry with the team. I know that they were playing both of them out there yesterday, Moutier and Ntilikina. They both had pretty good games. Again, they lost because their defense sucked. So that's something they really need to focus on. Moutier looks like he could be interesting, but again, it was only one game, so we really have to see how they mesh.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Hernan Gomez is gone, and he was kind of a project and a guy that made the all-rookie first team his rookie year. Showed a lot of promise when he did play, but never really got the chance. So it kind of feels like to me like, as Knicks fans are probably sad to see him go because they want to see what he is. It's kind of not a loss because you don't know what he was. How do you feel about the trade? You got to pick back in a no-name guy. So how do you feel about that?
Again, it was an interesting trade. I think they should have played him a little bit more. It's going to be a shame. It's really going to hurt when he starts playing and he's actually good. And we see that he's actually making moves down with the Hornets. That's when it's going to hurt if that does happen. But as you're saying, he never played. Jeff Hornacek doesn't seem to like him. Steve Mills and the regime over there, again, they just seem to be trying to undo everything that Phil did. So it didn't. I guess it made sense from that standpoint. Other than that, it's not really that big of an impact. I would like to see he had an opportunity to play too with KP going down. So just the timing of the trade, a little weird. But again, I think they're just trying to get rid of the old guys and bring in their own guys.
And now you mentioned that tanking is probably the way to go at this point. So you agree with the tank, and if that's the way you want to go, this rookie pool right now seems to be pretty damn good with Trae Young leading the way. You have kids like Colin Sexton. You have Marvin Bagley. Who would be your ideal pick if you guys can, luckily get that ping pong ball to fall and let you guys get a top 3 pick? Who would you be your ideal guy?
I think you said it, Trae Young. I mean, I know there's a glut of point guard, and he's a point guard, but again, as I was saying, that's the QB of the team. We need somebody who can facilitate, somebody who can shoot. He seems to be that kind of player. If we had someone like that in New York, I think it'd be great for the team.
Absolutely, and I think, they compare Trae Young to Steph Curry a lot because he's a free shooter. He has a lot of range. I think he really needs to button up on those turnovers. He's playing in a really good conference in the Big 12. He does have a good amount of turnovers. He seems to be getting those under control more. But, I just think, the comparisons are a little premature to Steph. I don't think we're going to see someone with a jump shot like Steph in a while. And you know what? You just have to hope that he's a little more hardy than Steph. Because people forget, Steph Curry in his first 2 years barely played because his ankles were a problem. So last thing that the Knicks are going to need, especially in New York, is a rookie that has any sort of injury issues. Because we don't take kindly to that in New York sports.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hopefully he doesn't. It looks like he's losing his hair already, though, which I don't know if that's a good sign. I don't know if you've ever seen his haircut, but it's not very good.
Oh, he'll probably go bald playing in New York with the friggin' New York. He'll have Frank Iasola just sitting there in his face, up his ass all the time, probably writing articles about how his bad play on the court has something to do with his psyche about his hair. Even though Frank Iasola is a pretty good friggin' reporter, I'm not trying to rip him. But, just that's a New York media type of thing to do. Like, oh, you see Trae Young's hair? That had something to do with the fact that he only scored 10 last night. Like, something stupid like that.
Me and Frank have had our issues, so probably.
Listen, you know you've made it somewhere in New York sports when you've argued with Frank Iasola. I have not done that yet. So,
What?
and moving on to a team that, I think Knicks, Nets, everyone in the East is aspiring to be. The Cleveland Cavaliers, or, as I like to call them, the Cleveland LeBrons, they made some moves that shocked people, but I think put them in the front runner for the championship. And people are looking at me crazy, but you might be looking at it crazy right now. But hear me out. They got rid of Isaiah Thomas, Channing Frye, Dwayne Wade, Amon Shumpert, Derrick Rose, and Jay Crowder in a trade. Got back George Hill, Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr. We saw that new group play last night, and let me tell you, they run the floor, they make open jumpers, and the biggest part for LeBron and what LeBron has always been known for is they play defense. Every single guy picked up there, especially Rodney Hood and George Hill, they play defense, and they can all shoot the three. And Larry Nance can jump over a friggin' bus and dunk. And what do you think? Do you think that these trades, getting rid of the old and coming in with the new, just made the Cavs right back up there as the top of the East?
Yeah, 100%. I think I agree with everything you said. 100% they're top of the East. They could definitely contend with Golden State. Their team was just, lacking something. And it was that defense. It was that fire. And, they look like they won the trade. But if you look at it, the Lakers clearing the cap room, ironically, maybe to get LeBron is also kind of crazy in this whole thing. But, yeah, I would definitely put them. They're definitely stacked. I think they're definitely going to run away with the East now. They looked great last night. Definitely a lot more fire, a lot more passion from the team. LeBron just got rid of everybody. And, Isaiah Thomas didn't seem like he wanted to be there, didn't want to be there. He pretty much said it. So he needed to go. I think Jay Crowder wasn't like he was last year, which surprised me. And they got rid of some of the dead weight. Derrick Rose, past his prime. Channing Frye, a little bit older. Iman Shumpert, he's a great guy. I love Iman. I hope he's back with the Knicks one day. But, they got to lose some people to bring some people in. So I thought it was a great trade. Definitely the first in the East. And definitely could run with Golden State now.
So two things. First, I'm going to ask you, what the hell happened to Amon Shumpert? He was always a defensive stud, but on the Knicks, he made the most clutch threes. Like, Steve Novak got all the notice for all the threes and the championship belt and all the stuff during Linsanity and all that. And, the years when they were playing really well. But Iman Shumpert was always good for a clutch three, and it seemed like he was becoming a 20-point-a-night guy, and then playing some of the best wing defense we've seen in the league in a long time. On the Cavs, he barely could make a bucket, and his defense seemed awful. Did you see anything? Have you watched a good amount of his Cavs time to see what the hell's different? Is it basically the lack of confidence you get from playing with LeBron?
I was just going to say that. I think playing with LeBron, you got to be a certain kind of player to do that. I'm not sure if he was that kind of player that could. He seemed to really revel in the New York spotlight. He seems like a guy who likes attention. If you're seeing how he has a budding rap career, I know that he's focused on that too. So it could have been something like that. But maybe Cleveland and just playing with LeBron didn't really mesh with him. That's what I would think. So maybe in Sacramento might be different. But again, I think he's kind of like maybe thrives in that bigger market.
I hope so. I really do, because I did like Amon Shumpert. He had some of the best hair of all time with that flat top. That was fantastic.
And I liked him on the team. I was sad to see him and JR go, because JR is funny. So I love to see his presence on the court as well. And I think it's funny that he didn't get traded. Very interesting to me. I think LeBron really likes him. But yeah, I think LeBron really has an effect. So you got to be a certain kind of player to play with LeBron. And a lot of those guys they brought in, Isaiah Thomas being one of them, was not that kind of player.
Now, speaking of LeBron, you mentioned that, it's the pipe dream that he comes to New York, which is funny you say, because I don't know if you were listening to the same show I was, but Boomer and Gio in the morning were the two guys. Boomer one day was just literally harping and harping and harping, basically for every hour of the show, bringing it back up that, LeBron is realistic to New York, and Giannotti's like, no, he's not. Shut up. But, in a way, you could see LeBron possibly, if he really wants to make a splash and end out his career the right way, he's going to come to New York and try and bring a ring here. But, with these moves that him, the GM, whoever the hell made him, with these moves, does it kind of solidify LeBron staying in Cleveland now? Especially if they go back, even if they push Golden State to 7 games, but it's an athletic and fun series, and LeBron is up and down and having a good time like he did last night. Do you think this can keep him there?
I always thought that he was going to go. This trade is interesting. Again, I agree he's like the GM too, so he definitely had a part in this trade. it did kind of set them up for the future as well for getting some of those younger players in, like Clarkson and Nance. So it'd be interesting. I still give it 75-25 shot that he leaves. And I agree with you. If he really wanted to make a splash and be, that number one guy above Jordan, he's got to win a ring with the Knicks. And I think it was more to me. I've been saying this all year actually, and I've been saying it last year too, that they should make a run at him. I thought it was a lot more realistic when KP was not hurt, but now he's injured. It's going to set them back a little bit more. So it's going to be harder for them to recruit him here, but they should do everything they can to try to get him here. And even if it's not this time, because he's one that likes to go on these 1-2 year deals, they should still be planting the seeds at some point in his career before he really starts to go downturn, which might not never happen. He could be playing to his 45 like Tom Brady. Nobody knows. But I'd be pitching or trying to work behind the scenes to get him here at some point.
Now, my last guest that I had on my last show, Brandon Scoopy Robinson, we actually talked about potentially where LeBron could go, and he's a very good insider in terms of basketball, so he knows a good amount. And I asked him, is LA realistic, Oklahoma City, Houston, where do you think he'll end up? And after a pause, he legitimately said he could see him going to Philadelphia and going to play with the process, play with Ben Simmons, Markel Fultz if he ever turns around. Do you think that that's a possibility that he could sit there, look at the youth of that team, look at the budding superstars there and go, hell yeah, I want to go play with them? And, what's a possibility? And Jesus Christ, would the league be able to stop them?
I honestly think the world's his oyster, especially the NBA world. He can choose anywhere. I think Houston is an option for him. I would say Philly would be very exciting for him to go there. And it doesn't really matter the market. People used to say New York, you want to be the New York market. You want to have that kind of brand. You want that. You needed to build your brand, but he doesn't need that anymore. He's worth $1 billion anyway. He's his own brand. He knows what he's doing. He controls the media wherever he's going. So I could see him going to Philly. I could see him going to Houston. I still have hope that he'll come to the Knicks. But I think LA seems probably like, I don't know why he wants to do it. They've been so successful. So maybe he wants to be part of that kind of winning culture. But come on. I mean, they've had Kobe. They've had Shaq. They've had Magic Johnson. Let's go somewhere else where we need to win. Why not come to the Knicks? Or why not? That's why Philly might be an option too. But in my opinion, if you're gonna go to Philly, just stay in Cleveland. So we'll see. But honestly, he could go anywhere. No, I don't think anywhere that he go will surprise me besides Golden State. And I couldn't even believe that was a rumor because that would just be insane. But I really hope he doesn't go there. But anywhere else, I wouldn't really be surprised.
And I think guys like him, obviously KD and Russell Westbrook and OKC, Chris Paul when he was on New Orleans with the Hornets, they've all proven that, especially with the time of the internet, these markets don't mean as much. Back in the day when newspapers and AOL was in its freaking infancy and smartphones weren't a thing, yeah, LA, New York, the greater Houston, Dallas areas, Chicago, they were prime because they were big cities. They were media capitals. Now, you don't need to go, somewhere. Karl Anthony Towns is doing great for the friggin' T-Wolves. It's like, you don't have to. Everyone knows these guys already. The eyebrow, Anthony Davis with the Pelicans. You know who these guys are, and it's because of the internet. So I think the market, and especially New York fans like us, we love to say, who wouldn't want to play in the New York market? It's not as important as it used to be. So
no, and I'm still holding to that though. Like you're saying, that's the one thing that I try to hold on to. But I know you're right.
Yeah, it's just we all hold on to that because we all want to believe we grew up in the Northeast, and in the Northeast, we're just hell yeah, we're better than everyone. And why wouldn't you want to come to the Northeast and play for our teams? Because we've had the best of everything always. That's just our mentality. It's the Northeast mentality. We're a bunch of winners, and so yeah. So it's just how it is. So, and speaking of winning and New York area and us being delusional, we're going to talk about your Mets.
I can't wait.
You're a Mets fan. I'm a Yankees fan. But it's realistic. Mets had high expectations since 2015, and they had a great run, made it to the World Series. It was a run that could and should give Mets fans confidence that they could have made a sustainable long-term run with that pitching staff they have with Syndergaard, DeGrom, Matt Harvey, all in their heyday, Steven Matz, and you look at them now and it's holy crap, where did these guys go? Injuries obviously play a factor, but it kind of sucks that the Mets had so much hope, and I love going to Citi Field. My wife and her family are all Mets fans. I've been to Citi Field plenty of times now. The stadium's amazing. It's so much better than New Yankee Stadium, I gotta say. Their beer garden, their food section, their fan section is just, it's all for the fans, which is surprising because the fans hate the Wilpons. But you're looking at this offseason right now. Are you happy with the two major moves, I guess you can call them, that they made, getting Jay Bruce back and signing Todd Frazier?
Now, they're one of the most exciting moves, but if you look at it, they've been one of the most active teams during free agency. It's been such a weird free agency that's going on. This market correction is really screwing stuff up, and I think it does give them a better opportunity, especially as one of these lower payroll teams, unfortunately what they are, to make moves. I think they need to add a starter. I think that would really solidify them. You got Cobb and you got Lynn out there. Arrieta's still out there too, and I hear the Nationals are calling for him. So a real coup would be if they could try to get Arrieta, even on a one-year deal. Because one, you're going to take him away from the Nationals, and two, you're really going to solidify the top three of your rotation, which is the biggest question mark and the biggest strength too. Which is it's very interesting. It's a very interesting time to be a Mets fan. There was so much optimism after 2015. 2016 was another kind of injury-plagued season. They made it through the playoffs, which was nice to see, although they lost. But then last year was just a total disaster, and it could only happen to the Mets, pretty much.
Yeah, and it was like it wasn't just like a few injuries here, an injury to a key guy, but everyone else. It was literally, if he was important to the Mets, he was probably sitting on the bench for a week or two, or a month, or over a month. Like, every time a guy even got hot or even started to go, like, even Harvey had a few good outings, and you would look at it and be like, you know what, all right, if we can get through 5 and gain his confidence, go, maybe a Dark Knight can come back, and then he'll go and have a stinker where he doesn't last 2 innings. Like, the Mets were confusing, and it's sad to see. Maybe, I hope Noah Syndergaard has listened to somebody and put the friggin' weights down. Like, you're a pitcher, dude. Look at Bartolo Colon and CC Sabathia. You don't got to be jacked. They're fat and out of shape, and they're two of the better pitchers still. Like, I hope the Mets can do something, and that, like, touches on, you're talking about pitchers and former guys that could have been stars. Wheeler just won his arbitration case. How the hell did he? I know it's not for a lot of money. I think the difference was like $1.2 to $1.8 million. It's not a lot. But how does a guy who has been out for 2 seasons and then went 3-10, I think it was last year, how does he win arbitration?
I have no idea. I think it was about 1.5 to 1.9, so it was like about $400,000 difference. But I don't understand it either. The guy hasn't had one healthy season, just besides his first year when he was only in the team for half the year. So it's just very confusing to me how the whole baseball, how the financial aspect is working these days. It's going to be interesting in the years to come, how the Players Association is going to handle it, how Boris is going to handle it now that no one wants to sign his players, it seems like. It's a very interesting state we're in at baseball. So we'll see. But the Mets are still just a big question mark. So we got to see them out there. We got to see them perform. People saying, you're talking about Boomer and
Gio.
Yeah, I'm getting confused with Carton. I was listening to Nate. He's saying that it would be great if they could all get 30 starts each. To me, that shouldn't even be a thought. If they could get 20 starts each, I'd be happy. DeGrom is the only one that you can count on, and knowing them, he'll get hurt this year. So I agree with you. No one needs to put down the weights. I've heard he has. Mickey Callaway is interesting. He's a pitching guy.
But you know what, though? You know that whatever happens, Mickey's going to love the guys, and he's going to care for them. And when they have a bad game, he's going to give them a great big hug. And you know what? Aaron Boone of the new Yankees manager, they're going to go and hang out at the same spa. They're going to get manicures. They're going to get pedicures with their players. And, instead of, team building at a bowling alley, they're going to do a combined Mets and Yankees family friendly. No rivalries, because that would just be mean. Don't be mean. Let's all go have family spa days together.
That's another thing.
I just want to puke. I want to puke.
Baseball is crazy, as you're saying. The financial state and this manager, GM kind of thing that's going on. You see the Yankees bringing Aaron Boone, the Mets bringing Mickey Callaway, as you mentioned. It's a lot of coddlings going on. It's really what the country is kind of turning into, though, too, if you look at it. So I guess it makes sense. It's following a trend, but it's just different from when I was growing up. I'm sure it's totally different from when my parents were growing up, too, that you're seeing stuff like this happen, where, caring for the players and, tucking them to sleep at night is the biggest issue for a manager. It's not X's and O's. It's not, the lineup card. That's all the GM now. The manager is just there kind of to watch over and be a babysitter.
The answer to this problem with the managers: bring back Ozzie Guillen. Put him on some team. Put Ozzie somewhere, and this PC stuff will go through the roof again because that guy does not care at all.
But that's why he won't be back.
No, absolutely not. And he's also an old school type of guy who goes by his gut and is a pretty damn good manager when he's not saying the dumbest stuff possible.
So as a Yankee fan, how do you feel about the Girardi move?
For me, it's weird. And when I first heard of it, I was just like, what the hell? The guy got us one game away from a World Series. He's been, fine. I was never a Girardi hater like a lot of other Yankee fans were. I know they ripped on his book or whatever, but he was a mix of both. He went by the stats, but he also went by his gut. So I never had a problem with Girardi. I thought he did a hell of a job. I thought these past few years before Judge's breakout, the 2 or 3 seasons before, he was the best manager in baseball. He did a lot with nothing. The Yankees were a bad baseball team for a solid 2-3 years, and he kept us afloat over 500. He had a lot to do with that. So I wasn't a fan of the firing. And then when I really heard that, like you said, he's more of an old school guy. He wants to do his lineup card. He wants to control his rotation. He wants to make the changes in and out in game. He doesn't want to have to listen. And Cashman is kind of buying into the new GM rules the roost, and managers just kind of play, babysitter. And he wanted someone that was going to do that. So he brought in a guy that he knows well, someone that's worn pinstripes, someone that has one of the biggest home runs in the history of the Yankees. And, and that's just the way it went. So I wasn't a fan of the Girardi firing, but it is what it is. I hope Boone's successful, and Girardi's fine. He made $35 million. He's on MLB Network now. The guy's going to be fine.
Yeah.
From the outside looking in, what did you think about it as a Mets fan?
I thought it was a dumb move, just in my opinion. He brought him, as you were saying, one game away from the World Series in a year where people thought they were going to lose, more games than they were going to win for once, which never happens. And he's been so successful there. He's won a World Series. He seemed like he was doing a good job, in my opinion. He seemed like everybody on the team seemed to like him. It was interesting to me, but again, it's just going towards that trend as we're talking about, where the GM just wants to be in control, basically.
And not to mention, he did a great job that, one of the biggest parts of being a Yankees manager is balancing out all the egos and all the stars, because when you're a Yankees, more than the Mets, and the Mets play in New York, and if you're a great Met, you get the treatment too. David Wright had the treatment. Mike Piazza had the treatment. But you have to be a decent Yankee. Brett Gardner gets the treatment. And Brett Gardner, I love him. He's not a great player. He's not going to be a great Yankee. But just because he wears pinstripes and he's won a World Series and he's the starting, outfielder, he's a Yankee. So the ego comes with that. And part of being a Yankees manager is balancing these egos. And he had to balance A-Rod. He had to balance DJ. Both of these guys at their peak. A-Rod being the highest paid player in the league. He had to balance Beltran, Teixeira, all of these guys, Mo Rivera, just so many different superstars. And I thought he did it, Joe Torre did it the best, but goddamn, Joe Girardi did a great job.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we'll see what happens with Boone. It'll be interesting. If the team does bad, it's basically all on him, in my opinion, or it's actually all on Cashman. So Cashman really, put his money where his mouth is, and we're going to see what happens. But they're so stacked right now. If they don't win 100 games, I'll be very surprised.
So speaking of expectations, are you optimistic about this Mets season? What are your expectations? Do you think they can, this lineup, they're going to strike out a lot. They're going to hit home runs. There's going to be a very home run heavy team, which is difficult at Citi Field.
Exactly.
They're going to rely on that. They're really still banking on this great pitching staff. But Jay Bruce is nothing to sneeze at. You're going to get close to 30 out of Todd Frazier. You just hope that, Rosario's not getting mentioned enough to me. I thought that kid, he had hiccups in the field, but he made some pretty clutch hits, and I think he's a real star for the Mets going forward. Smith over at first base, he gets a lot of criticism. The dude was just brought up. Leave him alone. Let him develop into something. See what he is. Where's your expectations for the Mets right now?
Before the Frazier trade, I was very down on them. I didn't even want to go to a game. I told my dad. He asked me if I wanted to go to a game in April. I was like, no, I'm going to boycott for a little bit. I do like that they did make a move for Frazier. They needed a third baseman in there, and he's a guy who has a lot of heart again, and seems like he could be a leader in the clubhouse, which I believe Bruce could be too. So I think them together is great. But again, it all relies on that rotation, and looking at it now, I don't have that much faith in that. I have faith in one guy, DeGrom, and that's pretty much it. So they're in an easy division, which is good because, look at what the Marlins are doing. They should win every game against them, you would hope. Braves are still building. Phillies aren't that great. Nationals are obviously the team to beat. Their rotation is stellar. So I don't think that they can overcome the Nationals. But, hey, if they stay healthy, and the Nationals manager seems to suck, which he always does, maybe they have a chance to win the division. Right now, I'd say, looking at the rotation, if they stay healthy, definitely a wild card team. Hopefully, 85-90 to win team. But that's, again, a huge question mark.
Now, the rotation staying healthy is a given. For me, the hitting, you have guys there. It's really going to balance on two things. The growth of Rosario as a clutch hitter, and if Yoenis Cespedes is healthy. Everyone forgets that Cespedes was one of the better fielders, and we talk about how slow this team is. Cespedes was fast as hell. He wasn't a slow dude by any measure. Yeah, he doesn't hustle on a pop fly, but a lot of big hitters don't. If they know it's going to be out, they just jog. And I can't grill them. They play a million games a year. If they're going to jog on a pop fly, as long as they get me that clutch 2-run homer to win the game, I don't give a damn. So for me, the balance for the hitting is going to be based on those two things. Anything that you see a factor that would add to that?
I would agree. Cespedes is a guy, if the team is good, he's going to play his heart out. If the team isn't, he's going to, walk to first. So I think a lot does depend on that. They did assemble probably the slowest team I've ever seen in my life. I don't know. They'll get like 2 stolen bases. Jose Reyes, who's 35, whatever he is probably the fastest guy on the team. I haven't really seen Rosario's speed. I'm hoping he's a little fast from what I remember. So we'll see. But I do agree with that. The strikeouts are going to be big, and the heart of this team. Cespedes could perform, and he's healthy. He's another big X factor for the team.
Now, switching to the Yankees, from a Mets fan's perspective, outside looking in, what was your first reaction to seeing that the Yankees signed Giancarlo Stanton, trade for him?
Thanks, Jeter, for getting him out of the division, but thanks, Jeter, for making the Yankees the best team in New York again, which obviously is going to happen anyway. I thought there was a little bit of collusion there, which is fine. At least you got him out of my division, which I didn't mind, but that team is stacked. They're going to have the most home runs ever, a lot of strikeouts too. It'll be interesting. Do you like the move? I know some Yankee fans don't. I would love the move. I wish the Mets got him because he would be great in that lineup too.
The only thing that makes me timid is so many righties. We have a boatload of righties right now, but we have righties that are going to hit 50 home runs. So It's cool. And you also have Greg Bird. A healthy season of Greg Bird should give us 30.
That's crazy. I mean, the team, the lineup they have right now is insane. The pitching, that's a question mark for them too, but I think they'll be fine.
It is, but Tanaka
without Stanton last year, I can't. I think they're the favorite in the American League East. The American League altogether.
And when you look at it in the Yankees, Jordan Montgomery was a great bright spot, and you're hoping that he can take that to the next level and become our third starter. Luis Severino has shown that he's a legitimate starter, hoping that he could be our ace. Tanaka had a nice bounce back at the end. Let's see if he can put together a full season. And we also have guys like Justice Sheffield and Chance Adams sitting there in minor league waiting for their chance. And Cashman has said he's interested in going into a 6-man rotation, which the Yankees, I think, would be the first team to do that for a regular season. But it would also benefit Tanaka, who was so used to a 6-man rotation, and could possibly get him back going into that ace status. So I love the trade. I think the Yankees pitching is underrated this year because I think last year they surprised everyone. But if CC can come back and give us 10 wins, I don't care. He doesn't, or even 8-8. I don't care if he's as good as he was this past year. But if he could just be manageable and be a 5th starter, I think the rotation is going to be fine because we still have probably the best bullpen in baseball, if not top 3. So I'm okay with our starters. If they can give us 6 innings, I'm happy.
And the pitching last year is not what lost you that series.
Oh, not at all. We struck out and we couldn't handle the moment. A lot of young kids couldn't handle the moment. That's all it was.
And that's why this year, they're set up to go really far because they've been there. They know what to expect. And now you got Giancarlo. So I think you guys are quite all right.
Oh, yeah. I'm not worried the fact that from 2 through 6, we should probably expect, I don't know, 50-50, 30, another 25, because Didi showed that he has power. Like, the ball should be flying out of any park this year, and that's just going to be fun.
You think there'll be a game where they hit 6 home runs in a row?
Absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind that we'll see a back-to-back.
Whole lineup might just hit home runs 9 times.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the whole lineup just hit home runs. Could you imagine Michael Kay? Like, he'd lose breath. If anyone's ever heard Michael Kay announce a game, he's not the greatest radio guy. I'm not a big fan. I know a lot of people don't like him as the Yankees announcer. I think they don't like him because he's the Yankees announcer, and a lot of people hate the Yankees. But, I think he makes great calls. I think he's fun to listen to with his whole entire "see ya." And I just think he's going to do it so many times, he might just, collapse.
Yeah, probably have a heart attack or something.
Something like that. And you mentioned a little bit of collusion with Jeets and the Yankees. And the only thing that I want to touch on with that, and surprisingly, I didn't get my information on this from Michael Kay, who is obviously the insider for the Yankees on the radio airwaves. I'm pretty sure it came from Boomer and when Jerry Recco was filling in, because I think that's when it happened. After the whole Carton thing happened, Jerry Recco was on with Boomer as his co-host. And they were talking about how Jeter didn't want to make the deal initially with the Yankees because he wasn't getting anything back in terms of what he saw. But Giancarlo Stanton stonewalled 2 deals that were in place and basically put it out to Jeter like, I go to the Yankees or I don't play this year.
Good point. Yeah, I did hear that too. So that's what the Yankees got. They got the pizzazz.
Yeah, exactly.
And the money to cover a contract like that, an insane contract that they don't.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, so, people are saying, the collusion, and no doubt, I guarantee Jeter had a great relationship with Cashman, and, it made it easier to make the deal with Brian Cashman, but I don't think that's the full bore is, I'm an owner of another team, so I want to help the Yankees. That to me, doesn't completely make sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, they're in another division. They're in the American League, so you wanted to get rid of him from your league anyway, so it makes sense.
So quickly on your opinion, I like to ask baseball people this. AL, NL, do you like the DH? Do you hate the DH? Probably I know which way you're going to go because you're an NL fan, but what's your opinion?
I like the DH. I wish I had it in the NL.
Oh, wow. Wow, most NL guys hate the DH. It's not pure baseball. Grr.
I mean, it's more fun, and the AL always seems to be better. People always say, it's easier to pitch in the National League and stuff. Why can't we just make it an even playing field?
And that's where I've always been. I don't give a damn if they have it or not, but I just think they need to stop this whole entire 2 different leagues because then they just need to make 1 Cy Young and 1 MVP. For me, it's like, I hate that they have 2 of everything.
Yeah. I think at this point, why? No other team really does like that. So, just kind of, again, that old baseball mentality. I don't think they'll ever get rid of it, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah, the unwritten rules, the baseball purists, the idiot baseball writers, which I talked about, and I hate those guys that do the Hall of Fame voting. I think they're the most pompous people on the planet. But,
oh, yeah.
So, that's wrapping up MLB with a bow, me talking about my hate of baseball writers and trying to get into sports media and sabotaging myself. There you go. So we're going to switch gears going over to the NFL. On the NFL, you and I are both New York Jets fans, unfortunately for us. We're not going to touch on them yet.
Unfortunately over there, that's a big one.
Yeah, let's touch on the Super Bowl first. We got to see Tommy Terrific go down. What did you think of the Super Bowl, how it played out?
That definitely wasn't his fault they went down. That was some of the worst defense on both sides I've ever seen. Bill's move to not put in Butler was, again, mind-boggling, but there's a reason behind it. I don't think it's really the reason why they lost. I think it would have given them a better chance to win. But that was probably one of the weirdest storylines of the whole thing. But it was a really good game. I'm happy for Philadelphia. I'm happy that the Patriots didn't win. So, Nick Foles MVP, I mean, you really couldn't write anything better than that.
Absolutely. And, we had this debate in one of my other friends groups, my brother's friends group, who a few of the guys, Rob Planner, Matt Santos, Kyle Doctor, I've had on here. I've had my brother on here as well talking sports. So we like talk about sports. How did you feel about Tom Brady not shaking anyone's hand at the end of the game and just kind of being sour grapes and not going to congratulate a guy like Nick Foles who busted his ass and had such a weird journey to get here? Did you kind of, everyone rips, we were talking basically the comparison, everyone rips Cam Newton for his actions and how he acts after games. And this is the face of the NFL, not shaking hands after the biggest game of the year. How did you feel about that?
Cam Newton is always going to get it because he's not a winner yet. And Brady is the best ever, so that stuff's going to slide. I think Brady's kind of a selfish guy. I didn't watch that documentary, whatever he made, but I've heard the whole thing was leading up to him winning a Super Bowl, and he didn't. So that probably really hurt him. He probably can't take – I know he's got a chip on his shoulder. I do appreciate that with him. I do have to appreciate him as a player and as a competitor. He is the best to ever do it. But maybe there's a whole bunch of stuff that could be behind it, but he definitely doesn't get as much flack as anybody else in the league. It could be because he's just
yeah, definitely.
The other media, it's kind of par for the course.
Absolutely. So I'm done talking about Tom Brady I'm also done talking about the Eagles because they got a championship in my Eagles fans' lifetime, and I still don't with the Jets. So we're going to move on to them.
That's a problem that I had too. I was kind of rooting for the Patriots, not not outright, but in the back of my head, I'm like, if the Patriots win, Eagles still don't have one. Jets don't either. Seeing the Cubs win as a Met fan, seeing the Eagles win as a Jet fan, it's hard. Because in my life, I haven't seen any win.
Well,
It's even Cavaliers win too. I mean, it's crazy. Like, how come my teams can't win one?
It's fortunate for me. I grew up a Yankees fan, so I've seen a good amount of that. I'm also a Devils fan, so I've seen the Devils in their heyday have the greatest goalie probably in the history of hockey. So It's been nice for me there. We're going to talk about a team that both kill us every friggin' Sunday. The Jets. Now, Nick Foles obviously enters into the conversation after his great play, and I think the best postseason run right up there with Joe Flacco. Do you think that, would you like to see the Jets either pursue a trade for Foles, pay Cousins the ridiculous amount of money he's going to get after the Garoppolo friggin' signing of $137.5 million, $90 million in the first 3 years? Or do you want the Jets to start fresh and draft a QB?
It's time to start fresh. I don't know how much I trust the GM and the coach over there, but you got a top 6 pick. You can make a move to move up. It's time that we get a franchise quarterback in here, someone that we could build around. And Kirk Cousins, he's had his good seasons, but he's going to be an exorbitant amount of money, and he's a little bit older than, obviously, he's been in the league for a while, so he's older. He's more built for a win-now team like Denver. Let's really, as Knicks and the Nets are doing, let's break this thing down, get a young guy in here, and finally have our guy for the next 10 years.
So out of your options, say anyone that you can choose, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, I think it's Josh Allen, who would you take out of that crop? Lamar Jackson, throw him in there. Who would you take out of that crop of quarterbacks?
I think Josh Rosen will be good. I would try my hand at any of them, especially as a Jet fan. They all have their upside. Baker Mayfield scares me a little bit just because of attitude and whatnot. But again, maybe we need somebody like that with a chip on their shoulder. But you never know how they're going to react to the New York media. I think Josh Rosen would be a good pick. I hope that they can move up to get him. I would try, to move with the Giants. Try to move with even Cleveland to get one of those 1 through 4, or the Colts. I think there's definitely a chance for them to move up, and I really don't want them to just throw their hat in this Kirk Cousins basket and just leave it there.
Now, there was also interesting talk about Le'Veon Bell. Doesn't seem like he's going to sign with the Steelers. He came out and randomly, they mentioned that possibly Jets for $60 million, and he came out and was like, I'm not playing for the Jets for $60 million. Hell no. And then there was another report that he talked to TMZ, and he was like, if the Jets gave me the right offer, I'd go play for them. Would you want to see Le'Veon Bell? If we had to give him 5 years, $100 million, would you pay Le'Veon Bell for that money?
I don't think so. I just think there's so many other holes in the team that we need to plug up. And we have all this money. Let's use it wisely. I know he's a great player, but the running back position seems easier. I'm not going to say easier, but it seems like, it's an easier one to fill than others. I think we have kind of strong. I think that's one of our strongest points in the game a little bit. Bilal Powell looks pretty good every now and then. Matt Forte's old. We got to get rid of him. I think he's coming off the books anyway. But I wouldn't like to see that.
Interesting what I saw today. Dion Lewis is a free agent.
Yeah, I
And
think there's a lot of options there that they could do, and they don't need to make that splash at running back. It is good to have, but again, they got to focus on the quarterback. They got to focus on the other needs. Offensive line, got to shore that up. Linebackers, they have a lot of needs that need to be filled. So I don't want to throw any big money at any one player. I say spread it around. Let's get some good guys in here, younger guys, and try to really, do what the Eagles did, and become a team that in 2 years can really change.
the Eagles, and also I really think of the Seahawks when you talk about that, where they
Yeah,
had Russell Wilson, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, all these guys who were, either found in late rounds and not paid a lot, but all of them still on maybe their rookie or even their second deals when they were still nobodies.
exactly.
And, get a lot of good teams, and they're obviously hurting right now because, and that's another thing I don't get. I understand guys are trying to get all the money they need, especially quarterbacks, but do these guys realize they're crippling their own damn teams when they take this ridiculous contract?
The only one who does is Tom Brady, of course, and he's in our division. He's the only one that seems to help. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I guess if you're Jimmy Garoppolo, you're not gonna turn down that kind of money. I don't even know. He's won 7. He's played in 7 games, won all 7. That's great.
But that's his first real contract. I don't blame guys like him
Yeah,
because that's his first real one. But, you look at guys like Matt Stafford, like, yeah, it's great to be the highest paid guy in the NFL, but now you can't put anyone around you, and then you wonder why your team can't get past the hump and be a great team, even though you're a great quarterback. Like, you crippled yourself. And I see guys like Dirk Nowitzki does this and did this in the NBA. Tim Duncan did this in the NBA. Like, it's something that, like, if you're smart, you do. Because, you don't want to cripple your franchise for these long-ass, ridiculous priced contracts. So I don't get it. I agree with you. Spread the wealth. If Cousins wants to come for $26 million a year, we have a lot of money. I would do $26 million. If it's a 30, I think there's a big difference between that $4 million a year that could get us another role player. 30 million is ridiculous. I wouldn't go over 26 for him.
do you think he's really a guy who could carry this franchise, though? I mean, he's had pretty good teams with the Redskins. I know they're another crazy organization as well. It really hasn't taken them to the over that hump. So that's what makes me a little bit nervous. I do like his attitude and everything, but just seeing him play down there in an easy division too at times, it just makes me a little bit nervous for him.
This might piss Redskins fans off, but I think the Jets are a better team. I think
I think so too.
our
I mean, if you
our
look at the
defense.
Jets and the history of the Jets, besides the last 5 to 7 years, they had some pretty good playoff runs and whatnot with Chad Pennington, Mark Sanchez, Rex Ryan.
Vinny Testaverde before that.
But it's been a while, so we got to bring that winning back.
Absolutely. And, and I do, if Cousins is there for the right price, then I would definitely, take a chance on him because he's a 4,000-yard guy. And, I like if Robbie Anderson can keep himself out of trouble. He's a deep threat. Curse is a consistent guy. If Safarian Jenkins comes back, he's developing. If Anunwa comes back, any of the player he was 2 years ago, that's fantastic. Allen Robinson's a free agent.
Their wide receiver position is pretty strong for once, seems to be. Depending on how Nunwa comes back, I think that is very interesting. That's true. So maybe having a guy like Kirk Cousins there could be very helpful to them. Could really spark the offense.
And also, I looked at it, Allen Robinson's a free agent and isn't expected to re-sign with the Jaguars. And before this year, he was their best receiver. And and off this injury, he's not going to be expensive. So if the Jets can get another guy like him to come in cheap, and you have a dude like Robbie Anderson that can blow the doors off, and you have 3 possession guys that just catch the football and don't drop it, that spells a really, really, good team on offense. And McCown showed that this offense can play really good football this year.
Yeah.
So
McCagnon's got to be, creative. He's got to dig up people like that coming off an injury that could be impact players would be very interesting. So he's got a lot of work cut out for him.
Now, asking about, McCagnon, Bowles, their marriage, they're linked being GM and coach together. Start off with Bowles. What do you think of the job he's done? I know there's Jets fans that are on both sides. I think that he's done just fine. I thought he took, a team that was expected to be the worst team ever, probably this year, got 5 wins out of them with a journeyman quarterback and a bunch of unknowns. And I think that, overall, he had the 10-6 year. He had 1 bad year. And then last year was overachieving. I don't mind the job he's done. I think he's growing as a head coach. What do you think of him?
His first year, I was impressed. Although we lost that game to Buffalo. And ever since then, to me, it's just kind of been a downward spiral. I wanted to give him one more year after this year, I think, but he's just made some bonehead decisions in the game, as as all coaches do, except Bill Belichick, except that one time when he didn't play Malcolm Butler. But anyway, I'll give him one more year, and I think if he could show some improvement this year, I don't like you're supposed to go 0-16, you won 5 games. Is that really a good thing? I guess in hindsight it is, but still, they were in a lot of these games this year, and they lost them in the fourth quarter. And a lot of the time, coaching moves were the reason why that did happen. That and BS penalties that got called back and stuff like that. We won't get into that right now.
No.
But I'll give him one more year to see what he could do with the team that he's really building now with McCagnon. We'll see what they get. I'll give him one more year. If we can have a positive year, I don't want to put a number on it, but if we have some kind of positivity, then you extend him. But I'm cold on him.
You see, just for me, I just saw a team that, came out there, and he's obviously the opposite of what Rex Ryan was, but the guys ran through walls for Rex Ryan. They played hard almost every week, and I see the same thing with Bulls. They come out and they compete, and it has something to say about the coach when this team obviously believed that they could win every game. They came in here, they didn't come in here thinking that they were the 0-16 bound Jets with a bunch of no-names. They came in with Jamal Adams leading the way on defense with that chip on his shoulder, Marcus May being the most underrated rookie safety in the league, Morris Claiborne trying to reprove himself, Demario Davis doing the same thing as well. And, and I really just think that they came out the chip on their shoulder. The offense played a lot better. We saw competent offense for the first time literally in almost 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, where it's fun to watch. And now that, Morton's gone, but apparently Bates is the same mold. He's going to keep the West Coast. And even Kirk Cousins made a comment that one of the attractions of the Jets is the fact that Bates is the new offensive coordinator, and he would run a similar system to what he's used to. So I'm actually, I'm not as cold as most people on Bulls. I give him, a legitimate chance. If they have a complete stinker of a season, I don't think anyone's going to have a choice. And I think McCagnon's going to suffer as well. I think way Bulls goes, McCagnon goes.
Which will suck, because that's just the circle we get in. I liked McCagnon in the beginning. He seemed to be making some good moves. His drafts haven't been fantastic. They've been pretty good. Last year's was pretty good. But, I think this is a really make or break year for both of them.
Yeah, I think that Curse trade really gave, just getting Sheldon Richardson out of here the way he did and getting such an impact guy definitely made him a little better in Jets fans' perspective, because he did a great job with that trade. And Sheldon Richardson was a poison, and apparently he's interested in coming back.
Yeah, I don't want that at all. I don't know why they're doing that.
And, I hope he gets rid of Mo Wilkerson soon, because I did love Mo, and he obviously gave up on the team, which makes me really sad.
He's got to go. Both of them seem to be kind of cancerous in the locker room. I wish they kind of, traded Mo when they could have at his high point, but at least they got rid of Sheldon and brought in somebody good for him.
So, best case scenario, what do you think the Jets can do this season? If they get a quarterback who hopefully has like lightning in a bottle, could play like a Dak Prescott or even Deshaun Watson before his injury, where do you think this young defense and, this surprisingly decent offense can go?
I mean, right now, we'll have to see. Obviously, there's still a lot of holes, but if they do bring in somebody at quarterback, if it's Kirk Cousins, if it's one of these young guys, there will be a little difference there. If they do shore up their defense a little bit, the O-line, shore that up, I think they're at least an 8-win team. With the money they have under the cap, again, it's going to be hard to beat the Patriots, of course, although there's a little turmoil up there, so you never know. This might be the year where we can kind of make a move, but we're going to have to see. I think the football now is kind of probably the hardest one to tell. Honestly, even though it seems like a lot of the same teams get to the playoffs, maybe that's just in the AFC, but we'll have to see. I think got to see their schedule, got to see who else they're playing, but I would expect at least 8 wins from them.
Outside of quarterback, any free agent that you'd like to see the Jets go out and get?
You know what? I haven't looked enough. I don't know.
Well, they could re-sign Morris Claiborne.
As you mentioned. I got to do more research on that. I'm just, they have so much money. Just get anybody. Bring anybody in here you can.
That's an awesome, what is it, $100 million, $98 million, something ridiculous they have in cap space, so.
One of the highest. It'll be interesting. I really have to look more into the crop who's coming out. I've been really so focused on their quarterback that I haven't really even looked at what else they could get.
I don't blame you. I know there's some.
Jimmy Graham would be interesting. He's going to be a free agent.
That would be an interesting get. Definitely be interesting.
But they bring him back, or bring him in, or bring Severian Jenkins back. He seemed like he had a good year. He did have a good year. It didn't seem like it. So I think Jimmy Graham could be very interesting depending on the quarterback. If you got him, Kirk Cousins, and that wide receiving core, maybe I'm bringing someone like Allen Robinson. That would really be a stellar offense. Probably the best we've seen ever, at least in my lifetime as a Jet fan.
Absolutely, definitely. So with that, I'd like to thank you again, Luke, for coming on the Sports Opinions podcast. I hope you had a good time, buddy.
I did, man. Thanks. Hope to do it again. Hope you come on mine one of these days soon.
So again, yeah, he's one of the co-creators of the hashtag Knickstape movement, an awesome movement going on for the New York Knicks. He's a mega fan, along with his buddy who started it with him. Again, Luke, let everyone know about your podcast, about your Twitter, where they can find you, where they can find everything, your clothes. Give them a whole entire rundown.
All right, great. You can follow us on Twitter at Knickstape. That's at Knickstape. We're on our blog. You can find the T-shirts there. Our podcast that we're just starting up, doing our 3rd episode tomorrow. That's NicksTapeNY.com. You can find all that stuff there. We don't have a Snapchat yet. We're just trying to work on that. Our Instagram is NicksTapeNY on Instagram as well, so that's at NicksTapeNY. So just come on and follow. Thanks a lot for having me, Alex. It was great.
Absolutely. And again, I'm Alex Cuesta. You can find me on Twitter at ACuestaNBN. And you can also follow the Sports Opinions Twitter at SportOpinion30. Again, thanks a lot, Luke, for coming on. It was lots of fun. Thank you for listening. This is Sports Opinions Podcast, Episode 11. Goodbye.